The Jesuit priest David Tulin once put it most succinctly: science shapes human consciousness. So simple, so true. Science shapes human consciousness. And he says all we have to do is look at how Newton's laws of nature and Darwin's survival of the fittest transformed the cultures of their time. Because science shapes human consciousness. And we too are being transformed in this era as astronomers and physicists offer scientific explanations for the mystery that we thought once upon a time was unknowable. And it changes the space that we have always inhabited and regarded as our home. Our home, it keeps changing so radically. Now, we may well understand the stars better and can name the processes and physical laws that account for how the cosmos began and quite possibly where it is headed. But at the same time, the complexity of where we find ourselves in an unending vastness of space calls into question our own self-understanding. The spiritual task of discovering our purpose and function in the grand scheme of things has been confounded by new insights into the cosmos that reinforce the randomness of our being here at all and complicates our own search for what really does matter anymore. What matters? Trying to figure out our function and purpose in a cosmology with expanding galactic space-time makes it challenging, I think, for us to tap into our own relevance and significance. Although we may never have literally believed that we were made in the image of God, we still, for the most part, felt pretty important. The Nobel laureate in physics, Steven Weinberg, captures the essence of my quandary when he says, the more the universe seems comprehensible, the more it seems pointless. The more the universe is comprehensible, the more it also seems pointless. Now, as long as we were the center of the universe, well, nothing was pointless. Damn that Galileo. I would have thrown him in jail myself if I had the opportunity. As religious liberals, we definitely not only welcome science as compatible to our own beliefs, but critical thinking generally is pivotal to how we engage the world. Through the ages, critical thinking has dealt a severe blow to religious orthodoxy by helping humanity separate myth from reality, separate belief from science. Critical thinking has made religion and doctrine, well, for the most part, obsolete, where old metaphysical ideas of God have disintegrated. We might go so far as to say that God as absolute monarch of the universe has been dethroned. Now, all that makes Unitarians smile knowingly, for we'd rather have science on our side than God. But, although God may simply be an abstract soup of words and plays no part in human affairs, disbelief in this judgmental policeman in the sky does not eviscerate the spirit. We are still concerned with value, meaning, integrity. And like Ignatius 500 years ago, we sit rapt looking at the heavens, stargazing, trying somehow, some way to connect with that which is not empirically verifiable. Now, as much as we welcome the advancement of science, I'm ready to admit that the recent insights into the cosmos, just these past few years, have knocked some of the pins out from under me. If indeed science shapes our consciousness, then how do we rekindle that which is profoundly human, where we desperately want to grasp some meaning and even just a wisp of our relevance? Now, of course, Emily Dickinson says it far better than I. She may have sprung from Calvinist heritage, but by all accounts, she's viewed as a very rational person, fully open to the new sciences of her day. She represents a classic figure of one who is rational, but for whom the inward spiritual journey remains paramount. In her poem, which only has 9 lines, a poem called Those Dying Then. And if you know Emily Dickinson, those dashes are so important, but maybe we can talk about that on another day. So in that poem, Those Dying Then, she reaches a conclusion that I interpret as, don't let science extinguish the last flicker of belief. I want to read the poem, but first call your attention to her use of the term ignis fatuus, which is not really part of our common parlance, and, won't find it in most of our lexicons. So let me just explain ignis fatuus. It's a light that sometimes appears in the night over a marsh or swamp, attributed to the combustion of gas from decomposed organic matter. So ignis fatuus, kind of this amorphous light that hovers over a swamp, sometimes discernible at night. I'm going to read her poem twice. It's only 9 lines, but poems are meant to be read twice anyway. Those dying then knew where they went. They went to God's right hand. That hand is amputated now, and God cannot be found. The abdication of belief makes the behavior small. Better an ignis fatuus than no illum at all. Those dying then knew where they went. They went to God's right hand. That hand is amputated now, and God cannot be found. The abdication of belief makes the behavior small. Better an ignis fatuus than no illum at all. So what does a spiritual life mean in a post-Einsteinian world, postmodern world, in a world where science has come a long way in supplanting mystery with facts and theories and ideas? I know I can't sit on the rooftop with Ignatius and stargaze with the same kind of beautiful innocence. But I want to at least be able to sense, see, discern the ignis fatuus, because it is better than no light at all. Now, of course, there are some who will say that, it really doesn't matter. I'm not that sure. It is possible, I imagine, even short of clinical depression or pathology, to live one's life as if it had no meaning, as if one's decision didn't matter. To live one's life as though love were a sham, truth a joke, beauty an illusion. It is possible to act as if how one treats other people is of no consequence. Yeah, you can live your life that way. The spiritual light that I hope to maintain in this newly incomprehensible universe, which seems increasingly pointless. The spiritual light that will hopefully guide us, in fact, as a liberal religious movement of critical thinkers. The light that may sometimes appear in the night over a swamp must somehow provide hope for the soul in this amazing cosmos beyond our grasp. I must search, and hopefully I can find an ideal way to live so that I've got something to judge myself with against that ideal. And I must be able to perceive love as though it touches the divine. That will make my life worth living. And as long as we can detect some light, I won't fall into the trap of believing that the earth and its people are simply an anomaly and that life on earth is some random event. Now, spirituality in these times now going forward will be noticeably changed, and perhaps even some benefits will result. Because although we knew on some level, it never sunk in though, perhaps until now, since science shapes human consciousness, the new consciousness brings to us awareness finally that we are not the climax of creation. That's an important piece in our spiritual life. We are not the climax of creation. We are latecomers to the universe. We are a bit part in a huge cosmic drama. But what is the play about? That remains the spiritual question that must drive us as a religious movement, drive us as the contours of the cosmos keeps changing, and it's harder and harder to feel at home. The play, obviously, is far from any preoccupation with the human race. But what becomes more important than ever before is how we respond to one another. Because our salvation lies not from somewhere beyond our ken. Our salvation lies through how we respond to one another. And we see that question posed before us every day. Do we respond to people and the hurts and pains of life? Do we respond with open hearts or with hearts that are closed? Getting to some kernel of truth of who we are entails a different journey for us today, I think, than it may have 20 years ago. But we need to believe, and there's that word belief again. We need to believe that there is an indestructible core that exists, perhaps a bit obscure, but we still need to decide how to live. How are we going to live? That's huge. Spirituality in this highly expansive cosmos still yearns for that journey of self-discovery. Love and forgiveness are two emotions that come to mind. And I want to take a wild stab here. I've got no proof, but I bet that love and forgiveness are two emotions felt on this planet alone. Now, there may be higher forms of intelligence elsewhere, somewhere out there. In fact, I don't doubt that for a minute. But love and forgiveness, that's our ignis fatuus. It's better than no light at all.